The medical bay hummed with alien technology that Lieutenant Marcus Reed could barely comprehend. Everything glowed with a soft bioluminescent blue, casting strange shadows across surfaces that seemed to shift between solid and liquid states. He sat on an examination platform that had molded itself to his body shape, waiting as the tall, insectoid nurse prepared something in a crystalline vial. The nurse belonged to a species called the Voth, creatures with elongated heads and compound eyes that refracted light in unsettling patterns. Her 4 arms moved with practiced efficiency, manipulating instruments that looked more like living organisms than medical tools. Marcus had been assigned to the Joint Coalition Station for 3 months now, serving as one of the first human liaisons to the greater galactic community. The integration had been rocky. Humanity's recent entry into the cosmic stage had sent ripples of concern through established civilizations. They were young, aggressive, and worst of all, biologically unstable. Every species in the known galaxy had evolved under predictable environmental pressures, developing along paths that made sense to xenobiologists. Humans, however, were different. "This will hurt," the nurse said, her voice emerging from a translator device embedded in her thorax. The synthetic tone couldn't quite mask what sounded like reluctance. "Your kind always makes things complicated." Marcus forced a smile. "We have a reputation, I guess." He had fallen ill 2 days ago with what started as a simple fever. But his temperature had spiked to levels that should have killed him, then dropped to near hypothermia, then spiked again. The station's medical staff had never seen anything like it. They had consulted databases spanning 10,000 worlds, and nothing matched the erratic pattern of his symptoms. The Voth nurse drew the glowing substance into a long needle that looked sharp enough to pierce starship hull plating. Marcus tried not to flinch as she approached. He had faced down hostile forces during first contact scenarios, but something about medical procedures always got under his skin. "What is that stuff?" he asked, nodding at the vial. "Cytostatic compound. Very powerful. It will stop cellular reproduction throughout your body temporarily, allowing your immune system to reset." She positioned the needle against his arm. "The dosage I am giving you would be enough to treat 3 members of my species. For you, I had to triple it." "Triple? Is that safe?" The nurse's mandibles clicked in, what might have been dark amusement. "We will find out." The needle slid in. Marcus felt the cold spread through his veins like liquid nitrogen, freezing everything it touched. His vision blurred. His heart stuttered. Every muscle locked rigid. The nurse pulled the needle free and stepped back, all 4 arms clasped together. She turned away, probably assuming he couldn't hear, and murmured to herself in her native language. The translator caught it anyway, delivering the words in flat, emotionless tones. "Humans shouldn't live after this." Then everything went dark. Marcus woke to alarms shrieking throughout the medical bay. Emergency lights strobed red. Through his blurred vision, he could see the Voth nurse frantically working at a console, while 2 other medical staff rushed around in panic. One of them, a being made of what looked like crystallized gas, floated near him with scanning equipment. "Impossible," the crystalline doctor said. His cellular activity increased. The cytostatic should have stopped everything. "I gave him enough to kill a Margoth heavy worlder," the nurse replied, her voice high with stress. "He should be in suspended animation." Marcus tried to speak, but his throat felt raw. He managed a croak. "What's happening?" Every alien in the room froze. They turned to stare at him with expressions that transcended species barriers. Pure shock. "You're awake," the nurse whispered. "You're conscious." "Yeah." Marcus pushed himself up on one elbow, fighting waves of nausea. "Was I not supposed to be?" The crystalline doctor drifted closer, scanners humming. "Lieutenant, you were clinically dead by every standard we know. Your heart stopped. Your brain activity ceased. We were about to begin preservation procedures to return your body to Earth. How long was I out? 47 minutes. Marcus processed that. 47 minutes without oxygen. Without a heartbeat. That should have meant irreversible brain damage, at minimum. He should be a vegetable. But he felt fine. Better than fine, actually. The fever was gone. His head was clear. He felt strong. "I don't understand," he said. The Voth nurse approached cautiously, as if he might explode. The cytostatic should have shut down your cellular processes. Instead, your cells adapted. They rewrote their own functioning to work around the compound. In the time you were dead, your body underwent changes we cannot even categorize. Show me. They pulled up holographic displays of his cellular structure. Marcus had no medical training, but even he could see the differences. His cells looked denser, more complex. New organelles had appeared that hadn't existed before. His DNA had additional sequences that glowed a different color in their scans. Your body didn't just survive the treatment, the crystalline doctor explained. It incorporated the cytostatic compound into its functioning. You're still producing it naturally now. Your immune system weaponized it. Marcus stared at his hands. They looked normal, but he could feel something different. A humming energy just beneath his skin. What does that mean? It means you're immune to approximately 60% of known biological weapons and toxins now, the nurse said quietly. Your body analyzed a substance meant to stop all life processes and turned it into a defensive measure. This is not evolution. This is not adaptation. This is something we have no framework to understand. The medical staff exchanged glances. Marcus could read their fear clearly enough. Humanity had already worried them with their resilience, their refusal to stay down, when by all rights they should be defeated. Now this, I need to report this, the crystalline doctor said. The council will want to know. Wait, Marcus slid off the examination platform. His legs held steady, despite everything he had been through. What will you tell them? The truth. That humans are more dangerous than we calculated. That your species doesn't follow the rules that govern all other life. And what do you think they'll do with that information? Silence fell across the medical bay. They all knew. The galactic community already viewed humanity with suspicion. This would tip the scales from caution to fear, and fear led to action. Preventive action. The Voth nurse moved between Marcus and the door. For a moment, he thought she might try to stop him from leaving. Instead, she spoke in a voice too low for the others to hear clearly. When I said humans shouldn't live after that, I meant it as medical fact. Not judgment. She paused. But now I wonder if I was right in a different way. Your species breaks every rule. You survive what should kill you. You thrive in conditions that destroy others. You turn weapons into tools, poisons into medicine. Where does it end? Marcus met her compound eyes. I don't know. But we didn't ask to be this way. We're just trying to survive like everyone else. Survival. She clicked her mandibles again. That is what worries us. When nothing can stop you from surviving, what happens to everything else? The crystalline doctor began transmitting his report. Marcus felt the weight of that question pressing down on him. His species had clawed their way up from pre-spaceflight civilization to galactic presence in less than a century. They had faced down extinction events, environmental collapse, war, plague, and disasters that should have ended them a dozen times over. They kept going, but at what cost to everyone else? I can't answer that, Marcus said finally. None of us can. We're making this up as we go, same as we always have. The nurse stepped aside. Then I hope you figure it out before the galaxy decides the risk is too great. Marcus left the medical bay and walked through corridors filled with species from 100 worlds. They had all found their place in the cosmic order through millions of years of predictable development. Humanity had crashed into that order like a meteor, bringing chaos and uncertainty. He thought about the cytostatic compound now flowing through his veins, transformed into something new, about how his body had refused to accept death and instead rewrote the rules to suit itself. That was humanity in miniature. They didn't fit. They never had. On Earth, they had been the odd ones out, the species that succeeded through stubbornness and adaptation rather than specialization. Now they were the odd ones out on a galactic scale. The nurse's words echoed in his mind. Humans shouldn't live after this. Maybe she was right. Maybe they were too dangerous, too unpredictable, too impossible. But they were here anyway, and Marcus suspected that nothing short of total annihilation would change that. The question was whether the galaxy could learn to live with them, or whether humanity's greatest survival trait would ultimately become their doom. Marcus returned to his quarters, pulled up communication channels to Earth, and began composing his report. The truth would get out eventually. Better to control the narrative. Better to show that humans understood the fear they inspired and were willing to work within the system despite their nature. But as he wrote, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The medical bay incident would spread. Other species would hear about the human who died and refused to stay dead, who took poison and made it power.